Hey,
Well, I mean, it's Mike at this point in time. What's going on? What's going on? We are live, brother. Let's get into this intro, man. We're getting better. Let's get into this intro before we start the show on the 4c's of marital relations. It's Palm Beach Mike Seville, for those of you who know me. And of course, we got Joe Simmons again. We're in Community Beacon, people.
all right, man.
Um, Excited to see you all again. Give us one moment.
No. You have to go inside and you find something that makes you happy, whatever that is, and then you just let it out.
Improving to greater than 6 miles on Friday morning.
Stars shining bright above you. Night breezes seem to whisper sycamore tree. Dream a little dreamer. Night breezes seem to whisper you. Dream a little dream. Now, darling, but I feel still crave your kiss. Dream a little dreamer.
And we're back.
That's it. That's how
what's,
it's done.
what's going on? What's going on, brother?
All is well, man. Another day. We're still making this thing happen. We're still going forward. So I'm loving it. Every single moment of it.
I know that's right. How was your week? How's your week been so far?
It's been exciting. It's been busy. Like I was telling you earlier, booked another gig.
Booking the gigs, booking the gigs.
Yeah. So when we headed out to Belle Glade, to the Elite Community Club, called me out there to come out there and do a little speaking with 11th graders, 12th graders, and their parents. So I'm excited about it. Eva Reese, shout out to Eva Reese, who went on and she's setting this whole thing up. Uh, that's going to be on the 10th. It's going to be on the 10th. Not normally a day that I go out and to do speaking engagements, you know what I mean? But because of her circumstances and how they gather together after they go to church service, then, I'm going to go ahead and take care of my stuff on this side and then head on out there and be with them for a little bit and talk with the young people out there. It's going to be a good time.
I'm glad you get to bless those people with your presence. I know you're gonna have something special for them. Always good when you see the parents and the children both coming together. When we worked at the center, it was hell getting the parents to come in. We had to give gas cards. We had to throw we had to buy food. I mean, it's like a whole thing for you to come in and sit for 15, 20 minutes. So I'm glad these parents out there in Belle Glade will be in attendance with the kids because I mean, you'll only have them for 30 minutes.
That's
30.
it. That's
Right.
it. You know how I roll. I'm going to speak for maybe 15 minutes to 20 minutes, something like that. But you know how I am. I'll give them a little something, and I'm here to help. You know,
Right.
I'm here to help. And that's what I do wherever I go. So it just is what it is. I'm just glad, man. It's just exciting. And hey, man. So I know we were talking about this recently. You inspired me on your civil discourse. I mean, like I was like, wow, blown away,
What was
right?
that? What was that on Monday?
No, not this Monday. I think it might have been Monday past.
Okay.
You had me to come out there and be on the show,
Okay. Okay.
and
Okay.
you put
Okay.
me on front screen. Yeah, that was the day. That was the day. And brother, you got up there, you were like, people don't always listen to what I say. They don't always listen to what I say. I told somebody about
Hold on, is this you mimicking me? Is this is this is that what I sound like?
it's like I told somebody, I told them about how they should really get out there, and what they should do is they should go ahead and they should start speaking. Now, what was that club called again?
Toastmasters.
Exactly. And you was like, yeah, Chris even went out there with me. And I was like, oh man, the brother gonna drop my name, gonna drop my name. And I was like, oh, brother ain't never dropped my name.
I, I didn't put you on front. It was interesting. Someone else actually had a meeting, an appointment on yesterday. So shout out to Fia for referring me to her family in regards, and he booked me for a consultation. And one of the things that he spoke to me about was Toastmasters. Man, I'm a huge proponent of it. To spend $150 to $200, to as an investment, I say spend, but to invest, it's really an investment. To invest $150 to $200 a year into yourself. I'm giving people the game plan. I'm giving you the this is how you do it and roll it out. Something as simple as that, brother. You'd go to Toastmasters and take over the entire club, but they'd be appreciative that they have you, because you definitely add value to a club. And then of course there's all these little nuances that you'll learn from listening to other speakers, some very, very good professional speakers. Like, you pick up on some certain things. I know when I started, I know I'm going off on a little tangent before we get into it, but my the way that I speak, especially when I'm doing a speaking engagement, etc., is like a mixture of a bunch of people from Toastmasters and a couple of pastors, and I roll that all into the way that I speak. But I picked up so many little tips, the preparation, understanding the 3 points, etc., in order to be a more effective speaker. But more so in Toastmasters, you become is a great listener, because you're listening. You got to listen to these different speeches, because you're not giving a speech every week, but every week you're listening to a speech. So you get to pick and choose what works for you, what doesn't work for you. What do they say? Take off the meat and chew up and spit out the bones. Is that the saying? You got to choose. As an adult, you got to take it all in, chew it up, and spit out the bones. So, man, I should have brought you up, but I'm glad I didn't. You brought yourself up. Shame.
No,
Shame.
no, you could have
Shame.
brought me up. Yeah, shots fired.
Shame. I have to. You said shots fired. I need to get some those. And Lou has it too. Lou has.
My little boy's got some.
Does he have it? He got
his
it.
His older sister bought. I don't know how to use that stuff, man.
He got
I'll
it.
figure out how to use it. And that way, next time I'll play around with it.
You get your shots fired. Bop, bop. Yeah. Now, but excellent. Listen, last week, because I know you're on a time crunch. Your brother put me on a hard stop. So and I'm over here taking notes. I'm ready to take a bunch of notes on this and ask a bunch of questions. And if you all are tagging in, whether it's now or it's on the replay, man, feel free to engage and ask questions in the comments if it's the replay. And then even now, ask now if you're on now, ask questions now, ask comments. I'll make sure I get it to Joel. You're not gonna get me answering them, but I'll get Joel to answer them as much as I can, or even get at the end of the show, at any point in time, I'll put Joel's information up here, so that he can answer anything, and I will drop the link if you all want to get on. If you want to get on the show, I will drop the link. I know I'm broadcasting on Facebook, LinkedIn, and YouTube. So wherever you are, let me know, and I'll drop the link if you want to come up. But if you're too shy, then of course you can put a comment in there, and I'll make sure Joe gets it and answers it.
Yeah, and you never know when y'all put something in there. We may make a show about that. It may end up being next week's show or the week after that. Or we'll put a show out there and we'll let you know. We'll tag you, let you know that your show is coming up. It's coming up
It's coming up.
on the rise.
Excellent. Listen, last week we pretty much did. We didn't even get into the marriage. Last week was like the ground. You spoke about the groundwork, which was like a mind blowing for me. We spoke about the foundation. We spoke about the different pillars.
Well, that's where we stopped. We
We
stopped at the
stopped at the
pillars.
pillars. Okay, so we just got to groundwork. I was so fascinated with the groundwork part of it. I know you told my eyes probably went like this when you brought it up. And then we went into the foundation, which like we spoke about before. Like I thought it was so dope because I think most people immediately jump into foundational things when the groundwork is probably, is what should be worked on as you're listening to this. You should be putting in the groundwork because you should just be getting ready for whether it's marriage or not. You should just be attempting to be your best self. And so essentially that's what the groundwork is, becoming your best self. That way you can have you're able more to discern. Do I pretty much have that correct?
That's good. That's good. I love the way you put it.
Okay, so we summed it up. So now we're going to get into the 4c's, which are the pillars. That's what we're calling the pillars, correct?
Yeah, those are the pillars.
Okay,
pillars.
perfect. So let me see. I'm just going to pick one.
Let me just go ahead and say this though. Why you looking to pick that, whatever that is? Listen, y'all don't understand about this Toastmasters. Mike is a king in the Toastmaster region. He's got much respect. He did his due diligence there, and he speaks well, very well. Kudos. If I had one of those little boxes, I'd be going like this.
Yeah, you met my guy, and he's the godfather of Toastmasters, Ed Lamont.
I didn't meet him yet. He wasn't there. He sent me an email today though. But man, he gave you props over the telephone, and we put that thing together, man. We connected it. I was like, yeah, I got this. I got my buddy. He's a real estate agent. He was like, and before the conversation was over, he threw it out there. He was like, well, Joe, by the way, who's your real estate agent buddy? I said, Mike Seville. He said, that's what I thought. Mike Seville, you tell him he is a good guy. Yeah.
Listen, you're talking to the godfather, man. Ed's probably started 4 or 5 Toastmaster groups in the county. In the county. I don't know if he goes to Broward, but I definitely knows he started at least 4 in Palm Beach, and he was taught by the master, probably a guy by the name of Bill Gove.
Bill Gove.
Yeah, Bill Gove. Do you know who Bill Gove is?
Yeah, I know of him. I haven't heard him speak yet.
Well, he's passed on now, but Ed was one of his guys, and so Ed's an excellent guy, man. So that's interesting that you all got a chance to have that conversation and give me much kudos and bless and bless my name in the conversation.
You deserve it.
You ready?
Yeah, of course.
I'm ready. I know you're born ready. I think this was the first one, if I'm not mistaken.
Right, it doesn't matter. We can go with that one. I generally consider commitment to be the first one. The thing about it is, y'all out there, it doesn't matter. We can start whichever way you want, Mike. But just the thing about it is like the 4 pillars. What they are is, think about it. It's like a support system. That's what it is. When we were talking about that foundational truth, right? Foundational truth. And, it's spirit and truth. It's those things that you can stand on. That's why the foundation is truth. And not only is it truth, but it's your spirit. It's your attribute. It is the individual that you are. That's what you have to build on. It's even like this show. Like Mike and I were just talking in the green room. When it comes down to relationships, like him and I got a tight relationship. So the way we are building this right here, that we're building it based off of his attributes, my attributes, and it's all in honesty. There's a whole lot of integrity being held here. So if anything happens, we stand up for what we do, what we say, what we plan, no matter what it is, we put that out there, and then we take whatever it is, or we give whatever we say we're going to give. So that's the foundation. That's just a little bit to go backwards on the foundation, because when we start to get to the pillars, when we start to get to the 4c's, it's really important to understand that these are kind of sort of complementary, but they're not. All right? Because it's like if you knock down one of these pillars, you're going to have a collapse. But it doesn't mean that your structure is completely destroyed, but you will have a collapse. You knock down all 4c's, in the fire service, we call that a pancake collapse. And that's the type of stuff that that destroys buildings, right? Pancake collapse. You can only imagine a pancake lays flat on itself, but you can have a lean-to collapse. Two pillars go out, you got a lean-to. There's a little bit of space. See that? Little bit of space right there. Little bit of space for you to kind of like hold on, because you got two pillars that are still standing. So the first pillar is commitment, right? So now let's just talk about commitment. Commitment is the state of quality of being, dedicated. So this dedication, this is the reason why it's almost kind of like complementary. However, it stands on its own, because, all right, so say we're entering into a relationship like a marriage, there should be some kind of commitment. Absolutely. Absolutely. You're making a vow. There should be a commitment. We should be committing, right? But a commitment as a pillar is the same and more. It's the same and more, For instance, when Mike and I decided this is what we're going to do, he said, "Hey, I got to get you on a live stream. We got to do this show." And I was like, "Okay, let's do it." So that was our initial commitment. But now there's a commitment every single Friday at 6:30 that we continue to work on this commitment. So the second part, or we can even call it the first part, if there's three things that you really want to remember about commitment, is that it is an agreement and a milestone.
It's big.
So you got to.
Yeah, I was going to say, explain to me what you mean by it's. I know it's an agreement, but what do you mean by a milestone as well?
So you got to make this agreement out the box, or you haven't even committed. But in order for a commitment to stand, it has to become something that you come back to.
Okay.
It's a memorial. It's a flag of honor. It's like the Statue of Liberty. It never goes away. It's indisputable. It's honored. It's like the Martin Luther King Jr. monument in Washington. That was a commitment that we now have. As Afro-Americans, as Black Americans, as, Blacks everywhere, as people that were held underneath slavery, as those that suffer from indifference, we're able to go to that monument and see that great divide that we know MLK Jr. helped to bring together. He helped bridge that divide. So it's a milestone. It's like if you go back into the book of Genesis and you start talking about Moses and how Moses wanted to go cross over the Jordan River, but he couldn't cross over the Jordan River because of certain things that had occurred during his tenure. And so what ended up happening was Joshua took on the staff and he was able to move across. The first thing that he did before he crossed over Jordan River was when he stepped into the water, because the Lord said, "I will be with you even as I was with Moses." So just like Moses split the Red Sea, Joshua stepped into the Jordan River and the river backed up. Maybe people don't know about that. And the first thing that he did was he had Every single tribe, 12 tribes, went and they got themselves a rock, a stone, a boulder. They put that in the water and they left 12 boulders. And then they crossed over. They said, well, why'd you do that? He said, because anytime your children come back to this Jordan River and they doubt, they don't believe, they don't understand how good God is and what he has done for us, they will look out there and they'll see these 12 rocks. They'll see these stones. And when they see these stones, they will remember that God crossed them over on dry land. It's a milestone. It's a place that you achieve and a place that you can come back to, and it becomes not just a milestone, but a landmark. That's what commitment is. And how does that affect a relationship? Well, this is how it affects a relationship. So you say, I do. Well, that's great. You did on that day. What about a year later? What about 5 years later? If you find that your time with your spouse is becoming weary, you need to go back to the landmark. You need to remember the milestone. You need to take another look at the commitment that you made, because you made it for a reason. And just like in that example of God or Joshua putting those stones down, they were there for a reason. So 100 years later, if there's a disagreement, hey, let's go back to the landmark. Let's go back. And now we're going to look at this milestone that was set up by our ancestors. That milestone still survives. It is now our landmark because it's part of our heritage. And what does that mean? Well, listen, I don't know, 100 years later, a child can say, I don't know what it really meant to them, but what it means to me is I must continue on. That's why this is a huge pillar.
It's interesting that you brought up commitment. One of the things that was brought up during our team meeting on Wednesday was Mike Johnston, over at Top Producers in Boca Raton. And he mentioned, and one of the things he always says, and he actually wrote it out this time, was that you need to be committed. He said, but the thing, essentially the people don't have the discernment or can't figure out the difference between being committed and curious. And I can automatically see how that can be carried over into this conversation. Because as you speak about commitment and it being a milestone and it being the actual pillar to help hold this marriage, one of the pillars to hold this marriage up. I mean, obviously it has to be a strong pillar. I can easily see people getting into it because out of curiosity. You know what I mean? Like, what is this married life gonna be like? What is this marriage? And if you started off as opposed to a commitment, it's just a curiosity. Because I think we often have this thing that we all need to be married. You need to be married by this time. A lot of people are looking. They don't want to be married. They want the wedding. You know what I mean? And so, but they're not committed to it. It's this curiosity. What's going to happen when I become married? Which I like to know what happens when you become married. But what's going to happen when you become married? And maybe this marriage will get whatever we have going on better. This pillar will save, this which is essentially the curiosity, will save our relationship. And then we, I think just to get across the board, like a marriage is not going to save a relationship. A relationship, you got to have that already. That's the foundation that you should have had going into the marriage. But I thought it was interesting that one of the things is commitment, and that's the similar thing that he brought up during this business meeting or this team meeting. Was that, if you're committed, you're going to be fine because the things are going to fall into place. But if you're just curious, then you're never really going to go full out to make this thing work for you. Awesome, brother.
Yeah, I'm glad you put that out there, man. It's important because commitment also is a reminder that you have to have single-minded loyalty with integrity.
Yeah.
So that knocks curious out the box.
Got to get it out, but you got to get it out there. You
You
gotta
know,
get it.
some people are committed to the idea, like you said, weddings. Oh man, can't wait.
Yeah. It's $30,000 wedding. It's $40,000 wedding.
Yeah, we're living in a time where things are really twisted right now. I mean, a few years back, I upgraded my wife's wedding band. The first wedding band that I got her must have been $1,000. Matter of fact, I think I paid for her wedding band and mine $1,000.
That's a good deal. Send me to that guy.
K Jewelers, man. K Jewelers. That's where
When
I'm
I'm
with.
ready.
But nowadays I see people that are doing like tattoos for wedding bands, and I'm not. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that you go the route of a tattoo. Um, but then I also see people with like the little rubber ones. Which is one that I actually want. I would like to have one of those. So I'm waiting for my wife to get me one. I don't wear a band. I don't have a
Yeah.
band. My band, it bent and it almost degloved my hand while I was at work. Twice. I almost lost either the skin off my finger or part of my finger. And then I misplace stuff and I lose things so easily, taking it off at work and then putting it back on when I leave work was no longer a good idea. Matter of fact, I stopped wearing all rings, because if I can't wear my wedding band, then I ain't going to wear another ring.
Right.
Yeah. But my commitment's on the inside, it's on the inside. Better is the circumcision of the heart than what, you understand where I'm going with that, than the word of the flesh, And so that's no knock against all my Jewish friends out there. I love them dearly. One of my best friends is Jewish, and we talk heavy on these things. So that's definitely no knock on them at all. So commitment, that's what commitment is, and honoring the spoken and unspoken rules is a part of commitment. You got to honor that.
Can we dive a little bit deeper into it? Just some anecdotal type things in regards to commitment. So when we're saying commitment, and you're taking these vows for rich or poor, for better or worse, et cetera, et cetera. I think some people can even make up some of their vows, but those are essentially the ground, the shape of it, the model of it. There's a lot of things that come up in life, and we've had this discussion before, where there's all kinds of things that happen. People get sick, people lose some kind of integrity, things happen, et cetera, et cetera. Commitment is when you're committed to something, that means that you're willing to work through all of that type of stuff. Correct? Is that what you're saying?
That's it.
Okay. Unwavering.
That's it.
Okay. Well,
and just for the people to understand, unwavering is in commitment, right? It doesn't mean that you're not going to have days where your knees are feeble and knocking against each other and your gut is like playing tricks on you. It doesn't mean you're not going to have bad days. Like one of the most beautiful flowers out there is a rose, but it still got thorns. You pick it the wrong way, you're going to bleed.
So one of the the top Kevin Samuels, and a shout out to Kevin Samuels, always says the number one reason of divorce is people filing for divorce. You can't.
That's a smart man.
You can't.
Smart man. He hit that one. Yeah. Hit the hammer, head of the hammer hit the head of the nail.
So but honestly, I think the first reason why people are filing for divorce is what is it? Is it irreconcilable differences? Which essentially means that a person
commit.
Say it again.
Failure to commit.
That would be number one and one. But irreconcilable differences. Most people think it's finances, but finances is number two. I believe infidelity comes in at number three. But number one is this irreconcilable differences. And that just because now there's no fault divorce. There used to be a time when you went in and you said that you wanted to have a divorce, you had to go through counseling. And I think there's actually there might be a handful of states. I'm not sure. Don't quote me on this, but I know it used to be in effect where you still had to live with that person for a year before you can officially become divorced. So you had to, if you went in, you filed for a divorce and said you all had to figure it out within that house, whether one person stayed in one bedroom, the other person stayed in the other bedroom, however long it had to be for a year. And then what I found is something interesting last night was in the Muslim faith, but that'll be going too deep. So we have these no fault divorces. So now we know that 70 to 80% of divorces are filed by the woman. And then and like I said, the number one reason that they're claiming for divorce is irreconcilable differences. Oftentimes you're going to hear, I'm just not happy. This person doesn't make me happy, et cetera, et cetera. So now I want to bring in the Muslim faith because they were talking about it last night. I heard in a conversation, and where a woman in the Muslim faith is not like she has to plead for a divorce. She can't, they have to go to the, to the mosque or to the elders and say they want a divorce, and it doesn't, and even then, like it's kind of, they call it a backdoor divorce because these things aren't often granted. She pretty much has to leave and be unmarried, and I'm sure that in that society, I'm thinking more so the Middle Eastern society than here, but possibly even here in their communities, that woman is shunned. We learn that those countries and the people that come from those countries, their divorce rate is about, I want to say it's 8%. It's like 4 to 8%, as opposed to here in Western culture where it's like 54%. Whereas the man in those same cultures and communities, they only have to ask for they go and they have to say it 3 times that they want a divorce. You understand? So I don't know if you understand where I'm going here with it. Is that the man, even though he has the power to ask for the divorce and it's granted to him, all he does, not all, but he has to go and he has to say it 3 times that he wants a divorce, and then it's granted. Whereas the woman has to plead, and even then it's called what they deem a backdoor, or like a backdoor kind of divorce, and it's shunned upon. But you see the rates of divorces that, like I said, 4 to 8%, somewhere in between there. I find that quite interesting in this day and time, because I know you and I are having this conversation, and I don't know what our viewership looks like. I'm sure we have some women in here, but it's often the man is not asking for the divorce. So how do we understand this? Because with all of the freedoms that we have, this commitment part, because I think that commitment part needs to be like emphasized, like, and I'm glad when you started it is that you defined it as commitment. But one person can one person just be committed enough in order for this entire thing to work?
That won't work. It doesn't work from the very beginning. I mean, going all back to the groundwork, and that's why the groundwork is so important. That's why we ended up being there for such a long time last week, because proper groundwork helps to establish everything that we're talking about afterwards. So when you start to lay your foundation, you're laying it in truth, integrity, honesty. You're putting your heart, soul, mind, and spirit into that foundation. Not only are you doing that, but it's not just your own cement, going into that foundation, but it's also the individual that you desire to be with. And that cement is being merged right there.
I love it. And once again, we're going back to that groundwork for you to do it, because my saying is it starts and ends with the man. So you need to be fully understanding and knowing, which I'll get into hopefully later on, about what exactly who you are, or as much as you possibly can. And of course, doing the things that we spoke about before, going to see that premarital counselor, someone like yourself, to assess the situation and see the blind spots, to see, you know, how much, you know, maybe you both need to go back and do some groundwork. Maybe this person needs to do a little bit more groundwork, etc., in order to make this thing happen. Because when you want to come, you want that solid foundation, and then you want to understand, totally understand this commitment thing. It's not a 1 year thing. It's not a 3 year thing. It's not a 7 year thing. It's a forever thing. You know, once you know, it's a forever thing. Awesome, brother. I love it, man.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. You want to go on to
Yeah,
compassion? I mean, because
yeah,
there's so much. There's so much to
yeah.
cover. Still,
I definitely want to go into compassion. Now I'm gonna keep my mouth shut. Go ahead.
never. So compassion. Once again, this is a pillar, and it's important for us to understand that these pillars are something that helps to keep the structure standing, and it is also stay points. It's also points of contact to the foundation that will stand. Just like you don't want your foundation to crack or to slip or to sink. you know your entire structure may not be able to withstand everything. So you put these pillars there, and the pillar keeps the roof on, the ceiling up, it keeps the walls attached. It does a lot of things for this structure. So compassion is the sympathetic pity, concern for suffering and misfortune of somebody else. Compassion is being a sympathizer. It's having pity on somebody. I know that sounds like, come on, man, you got to be kidding me. Why should I have pity on my wife? Ladies may be saying, they may be saying, why should I have pity on my husband? Or maybe they're saying, I do pity him. Just like Mr. T, I pity the fool.
I pity the fool.
I pity the fool. Yeah. Yeah. But it has a place inside the relationship. Compassion has a place inside of the relationship. You know, sympathizing I'm not talking about empathize. I'm not talking about feeling somebody else.
Yeah, okay, go ahead. I was gonna say I was gonna say, can you define the difference in between the sympathizing and the empathizing?
Yeah. We're not talking about, oh, I feel your pain. That's empathizing, or being able to feel where somebody is coming from, but not necessarily taking on that type of feeling. Sympathizing is like, I feel bad for this person. I feel bad for them.
Is this the same thing as forgiveness?
No,
Okay.
no, no. Forgiveness is its own entity,
Okay.
and it takes a power to be able to forgive. You have to develop yourself. It's like you got to go to gym to forgive, you know?
The
Yeah.
forgiveness, Jim.
Yeah. You got to work it out. You think you know how to forgive? Your parents teach you how to forgive when you're a kid. You sitting there, somebody slap you upside the head, and they start laughing. And then you get ready to slap them, and you're like, and the mama turn around and say, don't you slap him. Be like, but he hit me first. Like, tell him you said sorry. And then that one, they just laughing. They don't want to say sorry. They did it on purpose. That's why. They were looking for it. They wanted to slap you so hard. They were waiting to slap you. They was waiting to slap you. And now they got to say sorry for something that they don't even believe they sorry for. They don't want to say sorry. Sorry.
They might laugh and say sorry. That's the worst one.
They may laugh and say sorry too.
A begrudging sorry mean they didn't want to do it. A laughing sorry mean like I don't care.
Yeah. Yeah. Or they may be like, sorry. That's what you get.
So it's so good. So I was thinking more so of the compassion being the forgiveness, but you're saying it's not. So give me a little bit more about the compassion.
So compassion is really like, it's either natural or is a learned attribute. You have to work on this. Compassion doesn't necessarily come easily.
feeling sorry for somebody or pitying someone.
I mean, you got it is what it is. I mean, if we gonna deal with Webster's dictionary, it just is what it is. I mean, we could try to soften it up and make somebody feel a little bit better about it, but it just is what it is. When you sympathize for somebody, it's like you feel bad that they are going through what they're going through, that they are acting the way that they're acting, that they can't get it, that they can't figure this thing out, that they are stuck. Hey, you feel bad for them because you're like, man, you should have already, it's like when somebody gets stuck in the fifth grade, and now they're 13. it's like, it's like, it's like, dude, are you ever going to get this together? Man, I just feel bad for you. I want to go to school and take the test for you. You feel bad for somebody. That's what compassion is. So, think about it this way. Jesus was sitting on a boat, and for those y'all out there, it is what it is. I love my Lord, and it just is what it is. And I can prove a lot of this stuff by the way I read my scripture, and the rest of it I prove by the way I live my life. So, nonetheless, Jesus was inside of a boat, and while he was in the boat, all the disciples were either in the boat or around him in separate boats, and they were all crossing over. And when this happened, a storm came up, and it started to rain down. Like we would call it, cats and dogs. And they got scared. All of them got scared. This was after, he had fed the people with, I love Monica's, I like that. Compassion is empathy with education. So, when this happened, the disciples went, they were like, man, go get Jesus. Go get Jesus. We all gonna die. We're gonna die. So he said, wake him up, wake up, wake up, wake up, wake up. So the next thing you know, Jesus get up. He said, Master, don't you care that we die? We about to die out here, And he looked at them and he was like, where's your faith? Don't you remember how we fed the 5,000? 2 fish, 5 loaves of bread. You don't remember that? Wasn't that a miracle? And now you're afraid of this water, the storm, the rain, the wind, the waves. And so he stood up at the edge of the boat or wherever he was on the boat, and he rebuked the boat. Most of us think that he put his hands up, whatever it was. I don't care if he put his hands up or if he just looked out there into the middle of the ocean. He told the water to be still. He said, peace. When he did that, everything ceased. And he looked at him and he was like, where's your faith? Where did your faith fail? And the scriptures teach us that he had compassion on them. So he never left them. And even though their faith should have risen to the occasion, when it didn't, he stayed right by their side. Because the lasting lesson was that through his compassion, they ended up having more passion in loving him. When we show compassion to our spouse, they do something stupid. And we give them the opportunity. See, part of compassion is acceptance. We accept who they are as who they are. We don't take nothing away from it, and we don't add nothing to it, but we accept it. At that point in time, we begin to develop a certain type of relationship that just is not developed among most people. Tolerance is compassion. To be able to tolerate somebody else. Now, we practice this type of thing with our children. We'll be sitting there like, ugh, this kid right here, talking underneath our breath. We tolerate the people at our jobs. That's part of the reason why we're doing this whole thing, is because we want to teach people about how to become free, even in their minds first. We tolerate people at our jobs that treat us wrong. People right now are tolerating a boss or a supervisor that is treating them horrible.
Yeah, goodness.
Because they want a paycheck. They feel like if they don't have that paycheck, they ain't gonna be able to pay their bills or for whatever reason. You know,
Right.
maybe they got a different reason, but they tolerate it.
Yep.
But then when they get home
Mm.
and the husband or the wife has a bad day and they come back and express that in their direction, they ain't got no time to tolerate that.
Let me tell you something. Oh, let me tell you something, because you got to stop. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about that for a second. When I worked at the center, there was a guy who worked there. I'm not going to say his name. I'm not a big fan of his. But there was a time for me to gain some wisdom from him, because you can get wisdom from anybody. Or excuse me, knowledge.
in certain ways.
Yeah.
You know,
So I
some
asked.
people gain wisdom by watching what they do wrong and
Right.
don't do it.
Remember that old commercial? You can learn a lot from a dummy. I was trying to do it in a nice way. I was trying to come in a nice way, brother. But you went ahead and let me, because that's what I wanted to say. You could, if you remember that old seatbelt commercial, that old seatbelt commercial that said you can learn a lot from a dummy. Hey, but long story short, I asked him. I said, "Listen, because this guy had been working. He had been working for the city for a long time, 30, 40 years, similar position, working with a lot of the youth. And of course, we were in Pleasant City. These youth tend to be a little, they a little hard-headed sometimes. And so one of the questions I asked them, just in regards to my life, I said, listen, I said, it's tough coming here and working with some of these kids, because you got kids that aren't going to change. You know, they're going down a certain kind of path and you can see it, but they just don't want to they don't want to hear anything that you have to say. And so I said, so how do you, when you go home, do you shed this and you don't treat your children like that? Because I didn't want to use up all of my emotional energy, or mental capacity with these kids and then go home and not have time for my own son. So I was trying to figure out, I was trying to get him to, you've been doing this for 40 years. And I don't know exactly how you treat your children, but I just want to know, how is it that you compartmentalize it, you being here for 40 plus years working at the city? And I don't remember what he said. Probably a good thing that I didn't. But, I had to figure out my own way. But this is just, now we're talking about this adulthood thing where you're, like you just said, a person going to work and we're willing to tolerate any and everything that they throw at us before this paycheck, so to speak. You know what I mean? For this to make sure I keep this job. I'll do this, I'll do that. And then you go home and you treat the person that you with no kind of reverence. You're treating your boss with all, your boss, your supervisor with all the reverence in the world. I'm not saying you're not supposed to. Everyone should have their respect, and they should definitely be your respect as your supervisor / boss. But then to give them all of that reverence and then to come home and treat this person that you essentially are supposed to grow old with not that reverence. And whether this could be a man or a woman, however the situation goes, and not come home and have the same, that type of energy. I think it's better that you quit your job. I think it's better if you if a person can and go, or that you go find something else, or tune in and listen to what it is that we have to say, so that you can be in a better position so that this can happen. I think I'm really, this is something that I was thinking about. And once I find that special person, I don't think my wife is going to work. Like I don't think I would like my wife to work. I think I want to, have her have the ability to be as feminine as she possibly can. And I don't know how much that happens when this person is going to work day in, day out. And we don't really know what the work environment is. If it's an excellent work environment, then I'm all for it. Like, you can handle it. But once you start coming home and not treating me with the reverence, or even me, vice versa, however it works out, then you need to get rid of certain things that aren't necessarily going to serve you. And that, in my estimation, is not serving you or serving you, because you're the person who you are committed to. The first pillar is the person that you need to be have the most amount of compassion for. All right, I'm done.
Groundwork 101, y'all. That's groundwork. I don't even know if you caught it out there. That's groundwork. This is what groundwork does for you. People ain't going out there. They just like they would just want to just get together,
Yeah.
get together, get together, get together. I remember, one of my past mentors, Daddy McCullough. He used to say, "You all go out there, you pick a wife, you pick a spouse, you don't know what you picking.
Come on.
You ain't got any idea." People just going out there, the first thing that's hot and flying and looking in their direction, they want to get with. Some of them end up in Las Vegas for an overnight stay and wind up married in the morning with a child on the way. That's groundwork, Mike. That's groundwork. Now, if you stick with that, and this is for everybody, but I'm just going to use it as an example because you just put yourself out there. So I hope you don't mind, but it's a good opportunity to really show people, what you have been doing, you working on your nutrition, you working on your physical ability, you working on your mindset, you working on your business, you working on all these different things, but you are also working on your ability to be married to the right person. That's groundwork. And that will make a good foundation as long as you follow through. Because you just said exactly what you're looking for. So when you get something that doesn't fit that, why would you keep it?
Okay. If it doesn't fit, you must have quit.
All right, now watch it. We ain't going that route.
If it doesn't fit, but the groundwork and a part of the groundwork are these standards that need to come from the groundwork. I think once again, like what you said, Daddy McCullough said in regards to you got a spouse and you don't even know what kind of spouse you're getting because you're just having a spouse have a spouse. Because most people don't have a standard of what they want. Most people don't and okay, beauty, fine. Beauty is beauty, but that shouldn't be the first and last of it all. You know what I mean? You need to have something. I'm not, you don't even need to talk about weight. You need to talk about character. You need to talk about integrity. You need to have an understanding of the duties. How, like, what are the different standards that you and this person can both be committed to, that you both can cooperate with. And then because once you have these standards and it's laid out, then when this person is not doing what you had already laid out, because there's a big thing, especially with men. Men, you're not telling these people what you want. A lot of men just going out there just saying whatever it is to get a person. And maybe it's on both sides, but I'm gonna speak for men right now. You're not laying it out. So now all of a sudden, when this person is, you all are further down the line in this situation, and just to use myself as an example, I say, oh yeah, I don't want you to work because I noticed when you get home from work, I'm getting what Monique said, the messy end of the stick. You're giving me the messy end of the stick, but this person is telling you that they're a career woman now, or they're a career person, and their job is a part of their identity. So they have so now they're unhappy because even if you took them out of the job, because some people want to work. Some people want to, some people want to have a job title, which is fine. Because I'm not saying that whether that's right or wrong. I'm just saying that it may not necessarily work for me because I definitely don't want the messy end of the stick. Shouts out to Monique with that one.
Yeah. So I mean, but now just remember this though, on that note right there.
Yeah, you correct me, brother, because I'm, go ahead. I'm sorry.
You're all right. What'd she say? True people don't say what they don't know what they want. Yeah, when people don't know what they want, they don't say it, And sometimes people do know what they want and they still don't say it.
Yeah.
And sometimes people tell you exactly what they want and they expect that.
Yeah.
And compassion is there because you're going to have acceptance and tolerance. Those two things are really important. When you're laying out your groundwork, you're finding out what kind of individual you are. If you are, I think we talked about being analytical versus being empathetic in the beginning, and how it's necessary to start to develop both sides of those scales. It's very necessary. Because the thing about it is that one thing we all want out of our relationship is to be happy. I don't think anybody gets married so they can be unhappy.
I have a problem with happiness.
I understand. I understand. Let
Go
me get
ahead.
to my point then,
Yeah, please.
because I kind of feel like I want you to understand. See, because there's more to it than to the pillars. Remember, you got to put a roof on this thing. You got to shingle it up. You got to put walls on it. You got to put a window in there, and then eventually you need to put what, a bed in there. You need to put something to lay your head on, right? You need facilities, plumbing. You need all that type of stuff. There's a whole lot more to it than what we're talking about. There's deeper routes to go. And eventually, when you have your house developed, you want to go ahead and put the decor in it. Look at your room, you know? Look at your room that you got right there. You set that up because you like it that way, you know? And so eventually we're going to set up our marriage when we have all of those things that we feel are necessary. Then there comes a point in time when, hey, I feel good about this. You know, I kind of look at it, I feel good about it. Think about it like this way. We want to work out because we want to get healthier. We want to look better in our body. We want to feel better. But at a certain point in time, even though we did it for, let's call it, quote unquote, the right reasons, because we wanted to be healthy, we wanted to live long, we wanted to have enough strength to be able to do whatever we did or do or want to do, at some point in time, we look at ourselves and we become what? Happy. It's a byproduct of doing what you believe. It's a byproduct. Some
I
people
like
look for happiness first and they don't put in the work, but
that.
it's
Well
a
said.
byproduct of putting in the work. You put in the right work, you will become happy. Remember, God worked for 6 days and he looked around and said everything was good. He was happy. So what he do? He kicked his feet up, man, and he took rest for the whole 7th day because he was happy with what he had created. So it's a byproduct.
Good, good. Well said, well said. You
So
want to jump into the next one?
we can, because there's a lot to go in that. I was going to bridge it a little more, but let's go on to the next one. What are we going to? Communication.
You got it's communication? Okay, I got it.
Okay, communication, right? So we're going to communication, and I guess at some point in time we could always go back, or somebody could hit us up and ask more questions, whatever. I like it. Monique she's so into this thing. Uh, what you put in is what you get out. Now I like that, Monique, and that works when both people, and that's part of where I was heading to with what Mike had mentioned. If you and your new spouse or your fiance or whatever, if you all are both putting in the groundwork, then you will get what you will get out of it what you put into it. But when only you have done it, you may not get out what you put into it. And that's where a lot of people start to have issues. They start to have problems because they start to realize that they're putting a whole lot into a relationship to make it work. And they feel as if they are the only one who is doing that. And that takes in order to kind of like bring that together, that's going to take this third pillar, communication. That's what it's going to take. Because some people right now might even be listening to this. Y'all are already in a relationship. Some people are already dealing with the difficult end of the relationship. They've already lost a pillar. They're underneath part of the building trying to hold the ceiling up. Issue with that is they can never leave. If you replace a pillar with your own body, you can never leave. You become trapped. And you can't work on the pillar because you're holding up the ceiling. So you can't even work on it. You holding up the whole structure by yourself. You can't work on nothing if you're holding up by yourself. You got to implement some type of strategy. It's like a car. You lose a tire, you get a jack and put it underneath the car. You don't put a body underneath it. You can't support it. It'll crush you. It'll take your life. You get a jack. That's what's going to help you. Mike talks about a Jack, he talks about that all the time. He said people need to get counseling. Go see somebody, because if you go see somebody, it may at least delay the collapse until you can actually repair it. Or maybe you find out that it was a faulty Jack. And it encourages the collapse. Yeah, I see you, but they don't want to leave. Sometimes it has to crumble. So right now, just let's keep on this line now, because what we are talking about is essentially is developing the type of relationship that will last, right? And some people may be in those types of relationships, and like Mike has said, and I'll say it again, come see me. Come see me. Give me a call, But, Simmons.savinglives@yahoo.com. Come see me, contact me, reach out to me, I can help you out while you're in the middle of that. I don't need to just see you, though. If this is marriage, it's got to be the twos of you, both of you. That's how it works. So communication. Communication is a fosterer. It fosters, right? Communication is the appropriate use of language, knowledge, understanding. It's when you give and receive. You exchange. There must be an exchange. That's what communication is. Without those types of things, you wind up being in a very difficult type of situation. So when we start talking about communication, it is the exchange. And what it does is it fosters. Communication is deeply rooted into the foundation, because the foundation should always be built on trust, and it should be built on, your spirit, soul, the influence of your individualism, along with the influence of the individual or the other person. I call that the spirit of the individual, your spirit, lowercase s. Everybody's spirit is simply is defined by the attributes or the way that they live their life. How you see me, how you see Mike, how we act when we're around other people. This is manifestation of our personal spirit. Verbal and nonverbal. That's good. Very good. So communication, what it does is it fosters, and that's why communication is so important. Communication helps to develop, it helps to bring together what? Trust. The more you communicate, the greater you can trust. Oh, but when I asked him what he was doing, he said, he told me the truth. He was out with another girl. Okay. So I don't trust him. When I asked her to tell me what she was doing, where she was at, she said she was at the mall spending up our mortgage. Okay. When I asked him where he went, he said he went to the Harley Davidson place and bought himself a new motorcycle. Okay. When I asked her what she was doing, she was just kicking it with her old boyfriend. Okay. There's going to be times now in this type of development of a building, we hope that we're not running into these types of things because the appropriate groundwork has been done and the foundation has been laid right, and we've been following the rules from the beginning. Some people, maybe they haven't. So when we go back, this is the walls, Mike, Now I was going to bridge the gap between commitment and compassion, but let's just bridge the gap between communication and compassion, right? So when they say what they say, and we can bridge, and that will be bridged to communication. So when we throw up these walls in between these pillars and we say, well, they communicated and they were honest with integrity, you got a choice right now. Because compassion says accept them, tolerate them. Ooh, I don't want to do that.
Not with those examples you just gave.
Commitment says I'm not going nowhere.
Right.
So communication fosters trust. Now, if you get ahead of any of these types of things and you continue to communicate, you shouldn't be running into these types of things. But if you were to run into something like this, then and once compassion sets in, then there is a feeling to understand, a feeling, a pity. I'm not talking about this, all this stuff is easy. These things are pillars for a reason. Pillars are the thing. If you knock a pillar down, a building crumbles. That's why they're pillars. Because they can bear. It fosters knowledge. It fosters friendship. That's what communication does. It helps build these things. Yeah, those were some harsh types of examples. However, if you continue to keep your communication up, then it's easier to remember, oh, that's right, anniversary's coming up. Oh, that's right, I need to go stop by the store and pick up the eggs and the milk. Oh, that's right, it's my turn to pick up the kids. Oh, that's right, because it's such a great exchange of knowledge. Mike gave me a text message at 6:03. First thing that came to my mind, man, am I on time? But he's fostering knowledge and sharing information. Y'all, I hope y'all understand that out there. Because we don't have to get to that horrible other end if we practice communication every single day.
That's
and when
big.
there's, go ahead.
No, brother, that I'm just saying that's big. Because you're headed, essentially you're saying you could be heading off a lot of issues by fostering this communication. Possible issues. I don't want people to get hung up on those examples you gave, because most people automatically. I mean, I know at first I was like, "Well, you want me to forgive what?" But essentially, you want to over communicate this fact, or you want to have this communication going on even prior. This is big. Keep going, brother.
When you do this, Mike, if people were to take this seriously and use these pillars earnestly, honestly, from beginning, it will become natural. And that's a change, because at a certain point in time, it's not something that you have to stress to do. And if for some reason something were to occur, even if it was on the worst end of the spectrum, there would be so much concern in the midst of this, that there was something that was so off. You would have to understand this thing. There are plenty of relationships that have gone down that road, Mike, and still been repaired, become good relationships. So many of them. But nonetheless, I digress from that, because that's what you really need to go out there. You need to get that jack, get a good one, prop that building up. You need to get back together with some assistance, some support assistance.
1,000.
Because if those types of decisions are being made, then there's probably some other things that have been violated along the way. And maybe what the deal is that the groundwork for both individuals was never applied. The foundation was uneven from the very beginning. So there was a collapse due to uneven foundation. It was just bound to happen. That's what we call a sinkhole. It was on its way.
Well, there's a question, because you're going back to the groundwork, and I'm sure you've probably seen it. So when you see someone who's done a lot of groundwork, and then they pick someone who hasn't done as much groundwork. What is the you know, when they come before you and they have these conversations? I mean, even those persons, because you got some people who have a mask on. You know what I mean? And as much as we pick and we prod and we pry, they may still have that mask on, you know, kind of mimicking, mirroring whatever they think, or mimicking what they think is the correct way, which may get them to the point of marriage. Of course, then you get 3-4 years. You know, people can only, I don't care, unless you're a sociopath, you only keep your mask on for so long. And I mean, some people can go 2-3 years with, you know, 2 years with a mask on, 3 years, or people can go for a while until they hit that bump in the road. Something happens, you know, somebody dies, or, you know, they get sick, something happens, you know what I mean? And essentially
They change.
yeah, this change happens. And actually, when I'm thinking about it, this possibly can even happen whether or not they have a mask on, because huge life events change people to make them seek certain type of, that may make them seek these certain things that you kind of named in your example. What happens then?
Once again, and I love it because listen, communication.
Right.
If everyone is working with the same pillars, even when they change, they become this different individual. You know, they go from listening to country to listening to rap. They go from listening to rap to listening to symphonies. You know, whatever.
Right.
They change big time, but they're communicating
The
still.
communication has to be there. Huge. Listen, I don't know if some of you all caught that. and I don't know at what stage you are in your relationship, thinking that it might be going down a certain path, but this pillar that he just spoke about and what he just said in regards to the communication, that's huge. Oh, I say over communicate. You know what I mean? Especially a person like me, I need to over communicate, because my life is not structured as such to where you got some people, you got certain people who 8 to 5 they're doing this, 5 to 7 they're doing that, 7 to 10, that kind of thing. I'm disciplined, but my life isn't structured as such. Every day is a new day. But brother, we at 7:49. I want to get to this next one because I want to finish it out. You
Okay, it's still
because I know
they're gonna have to get the book, man.
You gave me the
No, I
hardest
appreciate you. I appreciate you. Y'all don't understand. My mother she's turning the age
beautiful lady
tomorrow, and I'm taking a flight. I'm headed out on tomorrow. So I really I love my mama.
Yeah,
so,
I love it too, man. Happy birthday. Happy birthday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. To my mama, Cynthia Marie Jenkins. Love her, love her, love her, love her. C. Marie. That's her. Love her. All right. Happy birthday, mama. I can do it. This is me and Mike's show. I can say it.
Yeah, you say it on anybody's show. That's your mother. Let me tell you that.
Yeah, man. I love that. That's one of the things that I love about you, man. We definitely have that same type of that. That's a trait that we have. Thank you so much, Monique. Thank you. I'm going to tell her about this. I hope she don't cry, but if she does, I'll let y'all. If I remember, I'll let y'all know next week. Mike's got better memory than me. Maybe he'll remember to ask me. All right. So there it is. There it is. Compromise. All right. So this one, out of all the pillars, I believe that many people would say that this is the most difficult one. I don't know. What I mean by I don't know is when we're talking about these pillars on the level that we're talking about, I think all of them are equally challenging. Therefore, entering into the relationship and building these things as pillars versus just utilizing them whenever you feel so, haphazardly just use, you know what? I'm going to communicate with them today because yesterday they got on my case. No, it's too late for that, man. You got to go all in from the very beginning.
Be committed.
You got to be committed. That's it. All of these pillars need each other. They need each other, One pillar goes out, the other one has to bear additional weight. So compromise. And I actually want to go back and mention something else, but I won't go back right now. So compromise is the ability to become flexible, refocus. It opens up the door of possibility. It is the power to agree with something you do not agree with. It's the ability to settle for the greatest good. And in the midst of a relationship, like a marriage especially, if the greatest good isn't, for the relationship, that's barring all of the other things that could happen in life. But the greatest good of that relationship is for it to survive, for it to thrive. And that will take some sort of compromise. It gives you the power. Power, y'all. Compromise gives you power. I believe people look at compromise as a weakening attribute. If somebody stand up and say, well, I feel like in my relationship that the person that I'm going to be with has to be like this. Compromise. Why? Because when you put in the groundwork, you realize that when they put in the groundwork, that you all should come together. But if they were being honest and filled with integrity, you agreed that there are some things that they disagree with you, because there will always be some disagreements. And you accepted that. You entered into that commitment. You entered into that vow together, accepting, that this was going to happen, that something of that nature could possibly happen, that even though they may do their diligence, their best to be this type of individual that they aspire to be, they may on some days fall back into something that you disagree with. So at some point in time, you have to be flexible. Maybe you might have to be more flexible than not. In some cases, somebody could be going through a season, months of repeating the same error, a year. They trying to get it together. You don't know. Think about it this way, because we give babies credit for everything they do. No matter what a baby does, like, we give them credit, and you got a little baby that keeps away.
It's true. They say, look at the baby, he got a little grip on him. Look at his grip.
My daughter grabbed a plant one day. Well, she was looking at it the whole time, and we looked at it. She was sitting in my lap. We were at a table, and they had a little plant in the middle. She was looking at it, bob her head. Her head was just rolling around. I can't even do it right anymore. And her eyes wide open. She was eyeballing that plant. And we just kept looking at her like, oh, look at the baby, And then after a while, it was just like, she really wanted that. Her hand would go out, She couldn't reach it, It was in the middle of the table. Her arms were too short, She just couldn't reach it. At least that's what we thought. All of a sudden, she grabbed it. Pow! And then like bam, bam, whack, 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 whack. She tore that plant up. So what am I going to do? Am I going to be upset? She was eyeballing it for a long time. And then she finally got an opportunity to do it. People are in growing phases. That's what we were just talking about in the last seat. They're in growing phases. And sometimes they are eyeballing their next move, their next plateau, or if we even call it a plateau. They are eyeballing how they're going to get there. They're making tons of mistakes because their mind is focused. They're not looking at you anymore because they're focused on getting there. You got to communicate so you can understand that that's what they're doing. But as they're doing it, you may need to be more flexible because they need to grow too. You ain't the only one in this relationship.
Mm.
When you set it up in the beginning, it was the two of you together. He poured his cement in, which was his truth and his spirit. She poured her cement in, which was her truth and her spirit. And both y'all agreed, and that cement joined together and created a foundation that you built this relationship on. And now, 7 years down the road, 14 years down the road, 21 years down the road, now they are moving into a new phase in life. And they're so focused on it, just like my little girl when she was just a little bobblehead. She's so focused on it, I don't even recognize that she has just learned how to reach beyond her ability. She grew in front of my eyes. Because she was a baby, though, it was like, oh, it's okay. Just let me have the flower. But when it's an adult, when it's a husband or when it's a wife, that may come with some other types of consequences. It may mean that they forget to pay the bills on time. Baby, I'm trying to grow this business, though. Honey, I don't care about you growing the business. Our lights went off. When you compromise, you open the door for possibility of growth. When you become rigid, you close that door. It's like planting a seed in the ground. When you compromise, you allow for that seed to grow and come up out of the ground. Then it can blossom. Then it can bear fruit. Then you eat. When you become rigid, you pour cement over the top of that seed. And it does nothing but butt its head. You end up destroying a part of your relationship because you shut somebody else down. So compromise offers the ability to be flexible. It requires flexibility. It offers possibility of growth, and it refocuses the mind on the greatest good. Thriving in your relationship, which means you need to let the other person grow just like you need to grow. Freedom for you both. So just because I want it my way doesn't mean I always get it my way. But we'll communicate through this thing so we can understand what needs to happen today. And sometimes it's your turn. Sometimes it's mine. We shouldn't be into counting. Because maybe you got better ideas than I do most of the time. So I get one in to your 9. So what? Because every time we make the right decision together, we both grow.
Both grow. Stop keeping a count. Stop the scoreboard. Stop the scoreboard. There was so much jewels dropped in that last 5 minutes. I mean, throughout this entire broadcast, but in the last 5 minutes, if people kind of heard it, like this is the type of information that people need to hear prior to a marriage, during a marriage, etc. That rigidity part is very, very serious. And this just, to the point, because I know we spoke about happiness and I was going to talk, but you explained that perfectly. But I was talking about the growing phase. That's why people have to continue growing. In my estimation, like you have to continue growing, because the moment one of you stops growing, if the other one continues to grow, which oftentimes happen, or you may think you're not growing, or when you get comfortable, people are changing because life is gonna throw some curveballs at you, and you have to make not have to, but people are gonna make some adjustments. They're gonna change. They're gonna grow. And if you all are both continuously growing and both allowing that space, if we're both allowing that space for us both to grow, and one thing about it, growing, to have strong roots when you're coming up out of the ground, you have to have friction. What's friction? It's tough. It's tough. Like it's going against each other. So what is that? That's the growing pains. But you're gonna get past it, man. Listen, there was one, and he speaks of support too, because you were speaking about a bit about support in those things as well. When this person is growing, when this person has these ideals, and someone brought up Jeff Bezos a couple of days ago. I was listening to somebody. They brought up Jeff Bezos. Jeff Bezos was getting paid $150,000 a year, and this is back in the 90s. He was a Wall Street guy. He was getting paid $150,000 a year. Him and Mackenzie was together. Now imagine, imagine him going to Mackenzie saying, "This is in the 90s. 150,000 is a lot now. It was more in the 90s." Okay. So imagine him walking over to Mackenzie and telling Mackenzie, "Hey, check this out. I'm about to go sell used books on the internet. I'm going to leave my job. And I'm going to sell used books on the internet." Now, I'm sure his communication was a lot better than how I just played it. But essentially, that's the bare bones minimum of it, because I think he may have had an ideal about Amazon, but I definitely don't think he thought it was what it was going to be or what he was now. But Mackenzie, they are divorced. Maybe this is not the best thing, but I'm just talking about the growing pains of it. Mackenzie had to hear this guy say, you're about to leave your $150,000 job to go sell used books on the internet. She could have easily said, "Are you out of your mind?" The support may, I don't know the ins and outs of it, but essentially they are where they are at this point in time. And more money, more problems. I can almost assume when you start to get to the $150 billion mark, $150 billion mark, $200 billion mark, you change a little bit. You may change, or rather, people say you don't change, but these things come up out of you. So but essentially at the beginning, that $150,000, because for him to take a chance, just like probably vice versa, if it was her, just that little bit of support in order to make it happen. But that support is not going to happen. The growing is not going to happen. You're not going to grow it unless you are both continuously growing. That's my thing. You get into that thing and you're just growing. That's it. That's what I got to say. What time is it? I want to make sure you're on. It's 8:05. I want to make sure you get to Mother Jenkins over there.
Yeah, thank you.
Over there.
Thank you.
Listen, people, this is awesome. Of course, Joel is about to drop his book. First off, Joel's going to be here every Friday, 6:30. We're here. We've made that commitment to be here Fridays at 6:30. Whether or not you get us live or whether or not you get a video of us, we've made this commitment to have a show running at 6:30 on Fridays, and we're going to continue with it, and we're going to get into more things in regards to freedom. Let me tell you something. The one other thing I caught, especially when we were talking in regards to freedom, and Joe kind of touched on that point, is that if we're all seeking freedom, and then you put marriage in the mix, you have to support each other. Like you have to support each other, and you have and communicate, listen, and receive, etc. So, awesome. I see Monique says great table talk. Listen, people, I want Joe to get to Mama Jenkins in time. I'm going to put up some of his information. If you don't want to wait until next week to speak with them, this is his YouTube channel. What should they be looking up on YouTube? Because this is terrible. What should they be looking up, like in regards to in regards to the name. What's the
Yeah,
name on YouTube?
that link is tough.
Yeah.
I have to work on that. I don't know if I can change it up. I looked up my name on YouTube. I don't have enough subscribers, so you're gonna find a whole lot of other Joel Simmons before
There's a
you
lot
get
of
to me.
Joe Simmons. Well,
Uh,
he we'll figure it out. Oh, we got Ty. Ty done jumped in. What's going on, Ty? Must have foundation to fall back on. Ty, you gotta go watch the last show, man. I don't know if you fully watched the last show, but even before we got to the foundation, we were talking, which was crazy, was the groundwork that you got to do even before the foundation. So go back and watch the last show. Joe got we this actually was supposed to be one show, and it ended up being two shows.
Three.
Three.
Yeah, because we start off with
Oh, yeah, we
relationship.
started off, yeah. But this is two full shows, 2.5 shows. That is what we focused on this. But that foundation is gonna crumble if you don't do the groundwork, if you don't prepare the grounds, which is you yourself. And then of course, and you're right, Ty, the foundation, and then you want to put these pillars because you don't want to fall back on the foundation. You want to have those pillars strong enough that those pillars is holding that building up, and you just making renovations throughout the house.
Yes.
You're adding extra rooms, and like Joe says, you start to decorate some of these rooms. Of course, Joe's email address, simmons.savinglives@yahoo.com. I'm gonna tell you what you do need. You need that link in the bio, Joe. You need a link in the bio that people can easily go to each and every one of your different platforms. So I'm sure you're working on that. I know you're doing a lot of work on the back end to get this thing going. So it'll be there. So there's his Simmons Saving Lives, and of course my brother's on TikTok.
Yeah, check me out on TikTok. Y'all go to TikTok and go ahead and subscribe. Right now, I've got a challenge to do one every morning and one every evening.
That's it. You need to do 3 a day. Brother told me the other day he took 6 hours to do a TikTok. I don't know nothing about TikTok, but I told Elijah. Elijah said 6 hours. All you gotta do is, I said, listen, I don't know. I'm not gonna be able to communicate this to the brother. You need to call Uncle Joe and tell him what all he has to do is.
No, you inspired me with that. I was inspired. So I made a goal. And then that night I did one in about 45 minutes, and I'm getting it down to like 20 minutes now. I'm not making them as cut as they used to be.
But the point is to get that content out. And I'm glad you listen to somebody. Ty said that evenly yoke is serious. I'm gonna tell you what, I used to, man, the way that my brain works at some points in times, when I hear evenly yoked, I'm like, oh, this person is not. Listen, you do the groundwork, you're gonna figure out whether that person is evenly yoked or not. Now, things can happen. Things happen, like we spoke about it. Life happens. And at that point in time, when it does happen, you'll have that compassion that Joe spoke about in regards to it, because people are going to go through some things. I'm going to tell you what, people, I lost my mother last year. Toughest thing ever. And so going through something like that, and me thinking about other people that go through that within a marriage or within a relationship, etc. That other person has to have that compassion for the person. They don't have to, but if you're committed to the relationship, then you'll have that compassion. But that evenly yoke is serious. Do not go out here if you are heavily in the church. Do not marry a stripper. That's not evenly yoked. Ty's clowny. He said, sir, TikTok. Listen, Ty, there's a method to the madness. And Ty, I'm digging your profile picture. That's an interesting profile picture there.
Listen, Mike, I want to give everybody my love for the night. I need to clock out.
Yeah, all right, Joe, clock out, and I'm clocking out too. It's enough. This is enough for me to chew on, people. So, Joel is out. Remember, guys, Monday at 9:00. You know I'm there faithfully. Monday at 9:00, unless something goes terribly wrong, I'll be there live 9:00, past my bedtime, to give you all as much game as possible. Real estate is crazy right now, and I need to task myself, just like Joel, to do more videos. So I need to do like at least one video a day, not a TikTok, a video. But we love you guys. We will see you all next week. Appreciate you all clocking in, man.
Take care, y'all.